So it looks like you're still playing Path of Exile. Good. And I bet you went online to look up a couple of videos talking about currency and how you're going to use it. And everything you've seen was how to make 100 divines an hour in solo self-found, how to make 200 divines an hour. And you're thinking to yourself, what the heck is a divine? Well, today I'm going to give you a great foundation on learning a lot of how currency works in Path of Exile, what to look for, how to use them, and really manipulate currency, especially during the campaign your first time through. Just get better at the game and understand more of what you're looking for. And then maybe you'll be able to make 100 div an hour. Maybe. Let's jump in game and I'll show you what's going on. Now, items in Path of Exile drop in very specific ways. We are in the mud flats right now, and as you can see, some items I have here are magic items. They're blue, and some of them have 3 red sockets, and you can see the little white spot, meaning they're linked. Some of them have 2 sockets, 1 red, 1 green, and there's no white connector, so they're not linked. Some have 1, some have 2, some have 2. Now, as you can see on the right-hand side over here, as you can see on this side, you can actually see what kind of items they are, whether they're wool gloves, the item level, or if they have any extra stats or affixes on them that you can see before you pick them up. Now, right here is a good time to figure out what you're going to actually be doing with your currency. That's right. See, currency isn't spent on just buying things in the trade economy. Currency is actually spent on improving your gear and crafting while you're playing the campaign. And I'll show you guys what I mean. So here we are in my hideout. Now, this is near the end game, and I just want to let you guys know that the stash tabs that I have are vastly different from what you're going to see. So if you see a currency tab that I go back to, mine looks like this because I actually paid for these stash tabs. Do you have to pay for stash tabs? No. In fact, I wouldn't recommend buying stash tabs until you get into the very end game of Path of Exile. So I'm going to keep it like this so it's very similar to what you have here as well. Let's go over some of the basic stuff. First thing we have is a scroll of wisdom. It helps you identify an item. So usually magic items, rare items, and uniques are all unidentified, very similar to Diablo 2. You need one of these scrolls to go ahead and identify that item and say, hey, what are the affixes on this item? Pretty simple, right? The cool thing is this though, every item that you have can in fact be broken down. If you run out of identify scrolls, you can sell an item and you get a scroll fragment. When you get 5 of these fragments, you get 1 scroll of identify. So everything can either be broken down into specific currency types and then bought from there. Now you can also sell other types of currency and then get the lower tier or the other set of types of currency you might be missing. So you can in fact take other kinds of currency like these alteration orbs or these orbs of chance and sell them at a vendor and then get a tier lower of that currency or other types of currency that are available to you here as well. Definitely test and figure out what you're looking for before you sell anything to a vendor. But in the beginning of the game, I wouldn't sell currency because you're not really going to be needing it unless you have an item filter, and we'll get into that stuff later on. But for now, just hoard all the currency you can find. And what I mean by currency is not gold. What I mean are these items here, like we said before. So we've got a spine bow here. It's a white spine bow. It has 1 green socket. Physical damage is 38 to 115. Critical strike chance 6%. Attacks per second 1.4. Requires level 64 and 212 dexterity. Easy, right? But you're thinking to yourself, why would I ever pick something like this up? I don't even really need it. It's not a magic item. It only has 1 socket. It's a waste of an item, Alex. Why even collect this in the first place? Well, I'm going to show you why. If you're playing in the campaign and you find an item that either has an amount of sockets that you kind of already want, whether it's 6, 5, 4, or 3, or it has a specific color set of sockets, or those sockets are linked, then you can actually craft onto that item, even if it's white. So the Orb of Transmutation is honestly a fantastic thing to start off with when you're early on in game. It upgrades a normal item to a magic item. So you can take a white item that has the sockets or links that you need early on in game and then make it a magic item like this. So now we've increased the actual affixes on that item. We've made it into a magic item. And now we can go ahead and say, oh, increase 25% damage to poison. Awesome. 20% chance to poison on hit. If I'm playing a poison archer build, this is honestly fantastic. But what if, Alex, what if I don't like poison? What if that's not what I wanted? What if I want something else? Well, these things called Orb of Alterations can then modify the affixes of that magic item. So you can right click that, pop it on there. Now you can gain 5 life for enemy killed. If you don't like that one, you can do it again. Adds 2 to 4 physical damage, increased accuracy rating. You can just keep doing that. 20% increased projectile speed. So you have ways of going through and saying, okay, if I didn't like the affix that I was given from this random item, I can change it. And that goes the same for any other magic item as well with the Orb of Alteration. You can also do it with rare items, but it's a little bit more costly. We'll get into that in a moment. So what if you've gone ahead and you have a magic item already? So we've used the Orb of Transmutation, and then we use an Orb of Alteration, and we got plus 30 dexterity, which really increases our damage as we're playing the campaign. But the thing is, we don't want to roll that modifier or affix away. We want to keep that one. We want to add another one to it. How do we just do that? You can use an Orb of Augmentation. You can put it on there and you can roll it. And on top of that, what it'll add is it'll keep the plus 30 dexterity, but it'll add another modifier, 3 to 6 fire damage. Sometimes it won't just add 1, it'll add 2 on top of that. So if you roll an item that has a good affix that you want to keep, but you still want to max out the amount of affixes you have on that item, you can then just do this and you're good to go, and it'll just add it on there. Now let's think about this though. What if you say, hey, I don't like any of these mods, I don't like any of these affixes, any of these, I just don't like it. What do I do? Well, you can use an Orb of Scouring right here. You can put that on there and that erases the entire thing. Everything on there is going to be erased. Now there are some things it cannot remove. We'll get into that later on, but you're probably not going to be seeing those items just yet. So you can remove all of the affixes, all of the actual stats. You can take any item that's rare and magic and make it normal from the very beginning and then craft on it from there. But what if you have a white item and you're thinking to yourself, I'm a gambler, baby. I like to gamble. Well, let's do just that. These are Orbs of Chance. They can upgrade a normal item to a random rarity. We upgraded this item to a magic item. It's random. It can go from anywhere between magic all the way to unique. It's an Orb of Chance. It could be anything with any modifier, with anything at all. So you're going to need these for other things as well. You don't really need them for this unless you really want to gamble. Now, as you're playing the game, you're going to say, hey, I need more sockets on my actual item. So you've crafted something early on in the game and you're thinking to yourself, well, I want to add 3 sockets or 4 sockets. Can I do that? You sure can. You can use a Jeweler's Orb and that'll actually change the amount of sockets on the actual item. Now it can go from 2 to 1 or to 6 or to 3 or things along that nature. Now you're also going to notice a couple of things here. Right above where it says bow, we're missing something. We're missing what's called the quality. Now quality on your weapons and your items are incredibly important. It helps you get the amount of sockets that you're actually requiring, or the maximum number. For most weapons, it's 6. So you can have 6 sockets on one specific weapon, and you can even link all 6 of those sockets together. So we'll talk about it like here. This is the Blacksmith Whetstone. Improves the quality of a weapon. So as you can see, the physical damage is 38 to 115. The crit strike chance is 6.5%. If I increase a percentage by 2 of quality, then it goes to 39 to 117. So even if you don't have the ability to increase the sockets, increasing the quality of the actual item will also increase the damage you can do with a weapon or the defenses that you have with a specific piece of armor. But here's the thing about these whetstones and armor scraps. If you use an armor scrap or a whetstone to increase the quality of the item, it's better to do it when the item is actually normal, when it's white. Because if the item is white, the quality increase will be 5% for every 1 stone or scrap that you use. If it's magic, it's 2%. If it's rare, it's 1%. So that means to get a normal item's quality up to 20% will take 4 stones. If it's magic, it'll take 10 stones. And if it's a rare, it'll take 20 stones. So if you're crafting, you're better off making an item normal, increasing the quality first, and then crafting on top of that. It'll just save you some currency in the long run. So we've done everything with the whetstones and the armor scraps. The armor scraps and the whetstones are the exact same thing. One's for armor, one's for weapons. Not a big deal. We can then now start adding sockets like we did before. Now we have the quality better. So now it's back to 1, 2, and you can just gamba this away. It's not going to hit 6, I don't think, but you're going to spend some time doing this. You can also just hold shift and right click over it, or left click, I'm sorry, and you can get whatever you're looking for. So now we got 4 sockets. Boom, right? 18 Jeweler's Orbs took us 4 sockets. Easy. What if we want to link them together? How do we put these all together? Because I want to be able to link all my skills together. Well, you can do that with an Orb of Fusing. This is why you want your quality high as well. Because if your quality is high, you have a better chance of linking all of your sockets together. Now, all 4 of these sockets are linked, which means I can have 1 major skill and 3 support skills, and they'll all impact each other, which is really nice. So that's good there. Now, what if you say, hey, I want a specific color for my sockets. I don't want them all green. I want like 1 red or 1 blue with 3 green. Well, you got to use chromatic orbs. You can do that. You can change it just like that. Now, depending upon the actual stats on your weapon, like this one is dexterity, it's going to be more difficult for you to hit anything with a red socket because it's going to take strength requirement on there for a red socket, or intelligence requirement to hit a blue socket. These are what's called off colors. So even though we have all dexterity, we can still hit an off color on here. But if this weapon took dexterity and strength, it'd be very difficult for us to hit a blue socket, which requires intellect. So we can go ahead and do that here because we have the ability to do that. But if I wanted all of these sockets blue or all of these sockets red, it would take a little bit more, or some special crafting we'll go into at another time. Don't worry about trying to figure out getting it perfect. You're actually better off saving these chromatic orbs for later on. Same thing with saving the Orb of Fusings and the Jeweler's Orbs, and just finding gear on the floor that is the actual linking or socket color that you want during the campaign, and then modifying them using Orbs of Alteration or Orbs of Augmentation or other things to then increase their quality or make them better. You're not really going into super crafting just now. We're just giving you an idea of what to do with all these items when you get them. So what if you have a magic item and you want to turn it into a rare item, right? That's one of the big things that goes around here. Well, I like the affixes on here. I want to keep them, but I want to make this into a rare and then make it even better. Later on in the campaign, you'll get things called Regal Orbs. These can upgrade a magic item into a rare item. So we can just pop it on there, and now it's a rare. Now it has the ability to have 6 affixes on here instead of 3. So we can double that. We can get 3 prefixes and 3 suffixes. We'll go into affixes in another video as well. But if you want to make it a rare, you can do that. So you can say, okay, well, what if I want to add specific other ones? What if I want to change dexterity and physical damage leeches life? What if I want to do that? You can then use something called a Chaos Orb, which you'll get later on in game as well, and then add that to the item, and now we've totally changed what was there. What if you love all of these affixes? What if you want to increase them? What if you want to change the values randomly? Whether they're going to be good or they're going to be bad. That's what the Divine Orb is for. So you have these affixes here that are say, hey, 31 to 61 physical, 26 to 52 fire, 103 to 212 cold damage. What if I want to make them better? Or they could also be worse. Am I going to burn a divine for you guys? Yes. That's what happens. So now it's 30 to 57, 28 to 53, 106 cold damage, 697 accuracy rating. And what I've done is honestly insane, because that piece of currency, the Divine Orb, is what you need to basically trade a lot of items. I spent a lot of money in game just to show you how to use it. Please like the video. No, I'm kidding. It's not really that hard to make them anymore, especially in like the current season, so it's not too bad. So with that being said, that is a really basic beginner idea of what you can do with some currency that you have in sort of Path of Exile. It gives you the ability to go into the campaign and say, hey, what is this currency for? How do I manipulate it? How do I use it? How do I get better gear? If the gear that I really want isn't dropping, is there a way for me to make it on my own? Now, the currency in PoE, like Divine Orbs and also Chaos Orbs, are used for many other different things later on in the end game. So my personal opinion is this. If you find an item on the floor that has the right sockets, that has the right links, that fits what you're looking for, where you can save chromatic orbs, where you can save orbs of fusings, where you can save jeweler's orbs, go ahead and just use your transmute orbs or your orbs of alteration or even an orb of chance to say, hey, can I make this a little bit better to what I currently have right now, or even an orb of augmentation to then juice it up a little bit to carry you to the next piece of gear as you're progressing through the campaign. You can then use those same strategies while you're doing endgame crafting, We'll go into that another time. So hopefully this gives you an idea of what to do when you're first playing the game and seeing all of these things drop and you're trying to figure out what these orbs do, how these things work, like what am I going to do with them, how do they operate, and you now have a structural idea of how to actually craft in a very basic format in Path of Exile and really understand at the basic level what are you going to do with currency when you're playing this game. Hopefully this helps you out. And honestly, if this video did in fact help you out with understanding currency as a beginner in Path of Exile, subscribe to the channel. We are doing a lot more guides and beginner-friendly guides for this game, as well as guides for Diablo 4, Last Epoch, and even news and other things about those games as well, or anything ARPG related right here. The next video coming up, we're going to be talking about skills and support skills and how they work in PoE as well, and then go further into a lot more of the mechanics and even the deeper currencies that happen later on in the end game as we progress through all the actual aspects. So if you're a beginner, this is the place for you. With all that being said, y'all, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you have a great one, and I'll see you next time.